So,
Yeah,
Morgan,
baby.
where do you want to start with this game tonight? I think someone in the chat said it best. It was the most Monday of Mondayest games we've ever seen.
Yeah, on a Monday. And I think that's a fair way to describe it because I felt like there were so many different points in this game where I didn't feel super excited. I didn't feel like confident with the Kings lead at times. And that again is going back to what we have saw in those last couple of losses, especially. But you did what you were supposed to do, and that is get the W, and you got the W with a big lead. You finished out strong.
Yeah, and I think tonight was weird because we're talking about this on the pre-show. You're like, Deuce, you don't feel like you're like enjoying this win. You're not all fired up. I'm like, yeah, because there are things in this game that I think were triggering for some. If you're watching the game tonight, you're seeing the Kings go up by 24, but in the back of your head, you're like, okay, are they going to close this out? And then it got whittled down to 10. They were up 24 early third quarter. It got down to 10 in the third. And you're going, is this really happening? This Hawks team who has shot like shit the entire game. At halftime, Morgan, the shooting numbers for the Atlanta Hawks, they were shooting 24% on 12 of 50 shooting. 12 of 50 shooting, and the Kings led by 17 at the half, 57-40. That lead ended up ballooning to 24 points. Then you saw the Hawks go into a zone, and that zone gave them a little life. Cut it to 17. Then it got whittled down to 10. And I think in the back of everybody's head, even at the arena, you're like, oh, man, we've seen this. We've seen this episode a couple of games ago. We saw this in the late collapse to the Bucks, to the 22-point lead that went away against the Suns. So all this stuff is just kind of fresh on everybody's mind.
Sure.
And I think some wanted after 3 days off for the Kings to just come out and look like the Kings again. And it didn't totally look like that. Sabonis didn't have his normal offensive output.
No.
And Fox has continued to struggle.
It's funny that you bring up Sabonis like that because in the postgame show with Chelsea, I was just talking about Sabonis battling down low, right? We'll talk about his rebounds in just a bit. He finished with 21 rebounds. But I thought the way that he was battling in there, trying to get shots to go, he finished 4 of 10 from the field. And I felt like he was getting just knocked into all night long.
He was.
Like they were so physical with him. There was at one point where he was fouled, the ball went out of bounds, and they're like, Hawks ball, and he's like, seriously, he's going after them, and he's just biting his jersey on the way down, just like trying not to scream his head off. And what I loved about this, I thought he did such a great job staying with it because we've seen times where physicality can take him out of his game mentally, physically, all the foul trouble, all the different things. He stayed with it all the way through, even if he wasn't having the best shooting night. And I said to Chelsea, I said, sometimes people don't realize how strong he is. Like the way that he battled through, instilled the energy to truly push through this entire game with all that physicality. It's not like you can just sprinkle money on these people and be like, oh yeah, now they're stronger. And she's like, sprinkle money on them? And I was like, like people just
like
see
magic dust?
People just see basketball players as like, you make millions, so you should be able to take hits. It doesn't make it any easier to take these hits and to battle through. And I just thought he did a fantastic job.
Yeah, Sabonis finished with, I believe, now his 25th straight double-double of the season. He had 14 points, 21 rebounds, and 6 assists, but just 4 of 10 shooting. So he still found ways to impact things. And give him credit where credit's due. Late in this game, he was big for the Sacramento Kings. He had a really good fourth quarter for the Kings. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, in that fourth quarter, he hit all of his free throws.
Ooh, well, he was 6 for 6 from the free throw line.
All 6 of those came in the fourth quarter.
Wow.
Sabonis finished with 10 points in the quarter. So 10 of his 14 points came in the fourth quarter. So he battled through it. And, that's where you're glad you have other guys who step up. And that's where you go, HB, like,
amen.
Coming the last 2 games, I think combined, he's had 10 total points. He's been averaging, last 5 games, like 5 points a game. I don't think anyone expected a 30-piece from Harrison Barnes tonight. He came out aggressive and look, you need these games from other players every once in a while. This is where, like, hey, you have to lift up Sabonis tonight. You got to lift up Fox, who's in a funk in 2024. He hasn't been the same lately. We'll talk about that in a bit. So you need other guys to step up. Harrison was awesome. 32 points, 10 of 20 shooting. He was 4 of 8 from downtown, and he got to the free throw line, 8 of 8 at the line. What do you like about Harrison's game?
Well, you love to see when you're making all your free throws, but that alone can just help a team, especially when you're getting to the free throw. You're having 8 attempts. Great job. Great energy right there. But all around, what I loved from Harrison is that he was being super aggressive on the offensive end. It wasn't just him being like, okay, let me just take this shot from 3 or settle from 3 or catch and shoot from 3. Nope. He got in. He was going in for mid-range shots. He was going in for floaters, and he was being efficient. He was taking some of the better shots. It felt like the defense wasn't paying enough attention to him and had a lot of their attention on the other guys. So he took advantage of that. And these are the nights when you're like, yes, this is your role. This is what you're there for. And on the other nights when you don't need to contribute and have 32 points, are you still doing enough, being aggressive, being a threat, so you're still an impact on the offensive end?
Another thing that caught people's attention was at halftime on his Instagram story, it was posted a picture of him, and it said halftime, 19 points, 2 rebounds. And, of course, social media blew up thinking that Harrison Barnes winning at halftime, grabbed his phone, found a picture from tonight's game, put it up there, and put his halftime stats.
I mean, that's obviously what he did. Like, you can just tell
if he did, love it. I love it. Be your own champion. People are shitting on you all year long. You're in trade rumors left and right. I would love nothing more than him going at the half and going, oh, hey, can you send me that picture? Do you have any pictures of me in the first half? The team photographer, he sends it over. Oh, cool. Oh, and then he's like literally drawing the halftime. He types in halftime with a line underneath it with his stats, like 19 points, 2 rebounds.
Crushing it.
I love the idea that he did it. In reality, he probably did not do it. So I'm going to guess he has a social media person. In fact, I'm like 99%
There we
sure.
go. I was going to say, you don't even need to
It was
say
just
probably.
funny. It was just funny.
That is fantastic. And what I do love about that, like already there's so much of his social media where I'm like, you're not always posting that. I appreciate him though, trying to stay active with it, always thinking about the future and like what you want to do beyond your career too, and making sure that you're active with it. And with this, it's so obvious that he did not do that, that it makes it that much more special. But I do believe you should always make sure that you are pushing out your work and someone else is doing that for him.
Absolutely. Well done. Mike Brown said after the game that's talking about Harrison Barnes being aggressive. He talked, and this is from Brendan Nunez, who posted this on social media, was good because we needed it in a way with our big 3, how they shot the ball down the stretch. We called his number 3 or 4 times, and good things happened almost every time. Oh. I mean, it was definitely more of the Harrison Barnes that we saw last year, not necessarily the 30 points, just about, oh, hey, how many times last year did we come on after a game and go, man, you know what? The Kings really struggled to get a bucket. They needed one. They gave it to HB, and he got them one. And yes. I think that happened several times tonight, getting to the free throw line. I mean, there were times where you talked about the floater, but in the post, like he had Sadiq Bey on him in the fourth quarter. He goes, I'm going to work on this guy. I have a size advantage here. I'm going to stay aggressive. I'm going to get a bucket here and look for yours. And it may not be his way every night. And I think that's probably the biggest struggle he's had this year. It's just kind of finding like where he's at with this team as an option. Fox and Sabonis, their usage rate is up. Keegan's is way up. Where does he fit into all of this? And I think that's been a struggle.
And I understand how that can be a struggle. I mean, if you've ever played basketball on a competitive team and really trying to understand your role and what works best with you. I remember so many times, even for me, it was like, I would have been so much better as a shooting guard, but nobody could play on my team. So I had to be the manager. I had to be the point guard, and I had to facilitate. That's annoying, right? You look at someone like Harrison Barnes, where his role has adjusted over the years, but it hasn't adjusted from being able to still make an impact. Just because some of these actions aren't run for you or aren't called for you doesn't mean that you still can't be making effective cuts or making those backdoor cuts with a purpose and not just to run through the flow of the offense and run through an action.
So I guess the question is, how can Harrison have more of, can he bring more of what he did last year? That balance. Of course, 32 points. He's not scoring 32 points, all right? But this, there was a stat I saw at halftime when he had like 19 points at the half that he's on track for his first 20-point game since November 22nd. Again, I don't need 22 from HB.
Yeah.
But what I do need is just this type of aggressiveness. How do you get that from him so it's not just him floating?
Because that's the thing. I don't even need to sit here and be like, I need at least a double-digit game from Harrison Barnes if he's going to start in this team. I don't need that. I need those attempts to go up. And those attempts being good shot attempts, right? Being able to be like, I am still a threat out here. If I square up, you have to worry about me just as much as you have to worry about someone else with the basketball because I'm capable. That's the thing that's frustrating about him. He is a capable scorer. He's a capable cutter. He can be strong in some of these matchups against some of these other teams. So it's frustrating when you don't see it as much and he just takes a step back and is like, I'm just going to run through the flow. So tonight it felt like, I don't know if he understood what was at stake, but either way, he stepped up when his teammates needed it most.
32 points for Harrison Barnes tonight. So we mentioned Sabonis. One other Sabonis note, too. He had 21 rebounds. This is a crazy stat from Frankie Cardicelli. Most 20-plus rebound games in the Sacramento era. DeMarcus Cousins has the most. He had 12 in 470 games. Sabonis has 9 in 136 games.
You guys.
C. Webb is third with 6 in 377. Sabonis has 9 20-plus rebound games in 136 games with the Sacramento Kings. That's absurd.
That's the thing that he's not putting up, and that's the thing with DeMarcus. I don't want to take away because his game as a player, as an individual, oh my God. I mean, there was times we're talking about, is he the best big in the league right now? And then when he started being able to stretch the floor and just like add more to his offensive game, it was wild what you were saying. But it didn't translate into a lot of wins and a lot of winning seasons where Sabonis, you are seeing from what it did last year, and then you're seeing him continue it and build off of it from last year into this year, and it's translating into wins, not the 4-game losing streak when he's getting all those triple doubles, and I'm like, okay, that doesn't look good, but you're seeing on a night like tonight, and then some of these other nights that you're going, okay, it's winning basketball that he is creating with the way that he is fighting for those rebounds.
More. We should talk about we would talk about Harrison Barnes. We should talk about De'Aaron Fox now. De'Aaron Fox tonight for Sacramento, 12 points, 5 of 16 shooting, 0 of 5 from beyond the arc, 2 of 3 at the free throw line. He had 3 rebounds and 1 assist.
Yeah, it's so tough to see when he's off. It's like, what? Wait, you were so consistent all the way until January 2024. Like, what happened, right? But at the same time, you look at the end of this game, just like Sabonis, they were scoring when it mattered most, when the team needed them most, right? They didn't start off on the right foot. It's not what you want to see going forward. You want to see those 4 quarters of De'Aaron Fox MVP-like basketball, but we have to take a step back and realize sometimes people are going to be in slumps.
Yeah, you just don't want an extended slump. So when players are going through something like this, your first thought is, all right, are they hurt? Are they banged up? De'Aaron's on the injury report right now. I was at practice the other day, and I asked Mike Brown, I'm like, look, Fox, his efficiency's gone down this month. His scoring's gone down. He was scoring 30 a game. Maybe he's not going to score 30 a game, okay? But, the field goal percentage is dropping a little bit. Things just don't look the same for him at this point. And tonight, it looked like all of his shots were just short. This was not a night where he was relying on the 3 either. He took 5 of them. He was missing mid-range shots short in this game tonight. So I don't know what's going on, but when I asked Mike about it, I'm like, is he dinged up? And he suggested, like, yeah, he's probably dinged up. But a lot of guys are dinged up at this point. And then the next thing he brought up is he feels like he has to do a better job at managing Fox and Sabonis' minutes. Fox tonight played under 35. He ends up playing 34 minutes. In addition to that, we did see Davion Mitchell end up playing 22 minutes off the Kings bench. You know, the Kings have not been playing a ton of guards. They've been playing Malik. They've been playing Kevin and De'Aaron. So seeing Davion get some run was interesting too. But yeah, I don't know what's going on with De'Aaron. And I feel like this happens almost every year with him. He goes through a stretch where like at 10 games, we're like, hey, is everything okay? And when we had him on our podcast over the summer, one thing he talked about was like fighting through things. My biggest thing with all that is like, look, I don't know what he's feeling at this point. I admire when athletes want to fight through things. I would say like if I'm Mike Brown, especially with what's coming up here, like if he needs a day, needs to skip a game, do it. Like I'm about getting, there's still over half the season left. You just have to be cautious with all this stuff if he is banged up.
Yeah, it's tough.
And we've
too.
seen him grab his shoulder last game, right, against Indiana.
Yeah. And sometimes you go, but what's one game going to do? You know?
That's true. And they just had 3 days off.
Exactly. And I'm not saying I'm saying sometimes the athlete and the team is saying, what's this one game going to do? You know, like we're all banged up. Might as well, you can fight through it because you're not going to make it worse. You're not going to tear a ligament worse. You're not going to strain something worse. So, you know, just do the rehab that you need to do and fight through it. Now, doesn't make things easier. And sometimes when you are fighting through things, you have to be able to adjust your game. And if it is something like the shoulder and the shoulder is affecting his shot, then you got to find ways to keep getting to the rim.
Yeah.
And even if sometimes that shoulder, because you need to use it to get to the rim and that's affecting you, then you need to find a way to find more power within your legs or whatever in that mid range. So then you're not relying on your arm strength and you're relying on your base strength. Like all those little things, it's not easy, but
No.
you can try and tweak it when these things are happening.
And one thing I like that the Kings changed late, there was a stretch tonight where they had Keegan Murray defending DeJounte Murray. And Murray kept getting a step on Keegan. He's too fast for him, got by him. And it was creating problems for Sacramento, right? Because guys are helping, defense is collapsing, or Murray's taking it to the rack. DeJounte Murray was a problem for Sacramento, especially in that second half. But then they made the switch, and De'Aaron took that task. And De'Aaron got into him, you know?
Yes,
And I thought even down the stretch, De'Aaron had some good looks. He had one shot that literally looked great, and it just rattled out. But then he had a big and one.
Yep.
And then he forced a turnover into DeJounte Murray. So De'Aaron just has to keep fighting through it. And I felt like tonight he did a great job trying to fight through this and try to, hey, I'm not knocking down shots right now. I have to keep playing. I have to keep competing out there. And that was one impressive thing tonight. It's like, okay, you can get through this. Just keep fighting.
Well, I mean, he talked with Sean Cunningham before. Well, they were in the locker room and it was a little media scrum, and he talked
Before
to
the game.
And one of the lines that Sean had posted in the tweet was, we have to make sure that we're finishing games I'm misquoting it, but we have to make sure we're finishing games the right way, basically. And I felt like tonight, Domas and Fox, not the best game throughout, but they finished it the right way. They both finished strong within the fourth quarter. Also, the team rallied behind and found ways to find different energy here and there to make some big moments happen, to make sure that they were getting stops against this Hawks team. But it was really the end of the third and more of the fourth when the Kings started playing better basketball in that second half. And it was like, okay, we have so much more control. Now, when it was 114, 107, I'm texting Deuce like, not okay.
Yeah.
I'm not okay at that point just because I'm like, oh, there's 2:20 left and this is scary. I don't like this. And then they pulled away. And they did what like a good NBA team would do.
Well, I felt like they just got off to a much better. The first half defensively, I thought was really good. And yes, the shots weren't falling for Atlanta. I'm not going to act like it was everything that the Kings defense was doing. But I'm telling you, I felt like the Kings did a great job in that first half of running the Hawks off the line. And when that happened, they were there to recover because you're running the guy off the line. You can't be in a situation where the guy puts on the floor and gets an easy basket at the rim. the help defense was there. And if that person went up and then passed it, the recovery was there.
Yep.
It was one of the better stretches of defense we've seen from Sacramento where, they've been so inconsistent. It reminded me a little bit of how they were playing defense in that first 3 quarters against the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah, it's like they were rotating over, not making sure that Capella wasn't going to be a lob threat. All these now, again, you go, oh my gosh, without Trae Young out there, well, they're not in full strength. What Trae Young can do, he's such a threat, especially when he drives it in, 2-man game, lob threat, whatever it is he needs to do. But DeJounte Murray's numbers always go up as a playmaker when Trae Young sits, so he's also someone that has seen a lot of success as their point guard. And so it was great that the Kings found a way to rotate over the right way, to really lock in together. I just thought this was like an all-around one of those team wins. So I know we could sit here and talk about guys in that starting lineup, even Keegan Murray, when you're seeing the 13-point game from him, 14-point game from Domas, 12-point game from Fox, and then we can talk about Kevin Huerter too, 8-point game after 3 really good games leading up to this. But it's like they all did together what they needed to do to finish off the game. And that's where I got excited.
I'm glad you brought up Keegan. I have so many more topics. We got to talk about the bench. We can talk more about the defense. We can talk about the Hawks, how they look without Trae Young. But I wrote a note about Keegan in my notes tonight. Keegan Murray at the end of the night had 13 points, 6 rebounds, 2 steals, 5 of 12 shooting, 2 of 7 from 3. So again, your 3 best players didn't have their typical night. Keegan's been on a roll recently, too, with his scoring. But, man, I felt like one of the swing plays that happened tonight, there were 2 we'll get to. But one of them for me, Jalen Johnson had a dunk that cut it to 10, okay? Then in transition, there was a missed shot. Keegan gets a strong rebound put back.
And dunks it, right? Yeah. Okay.
Then he plays some outstanding defense on the other end, forces a miss, then comes down and buries a 3. And I'm like, that's the type of shit. That's like, it's a 10-point game. It's a little fragile. Your teammate just missed a shot, and you go fight and grab a strong rebound and go up hard. And, I'm not sure he's doing that last year, and then to go back on the other end, get a defensive stop, come back down and bury a 3, a 10-point game, then turns into a 15-point game just like that. That's a swing play.
Yep.
That's how you slow momentum. When the team's making a run, they're punching you, you punch back. Keegan punched back in that situation.
Yeah, because even when we were talking about Keegan in the postgame, I wasn't like overly excited to talk about his entire game, but it was those moments that you were talking about that he had.
He played his defense on Jalen Johnson in the first half. I've been watching Jalen Johnson. We've been big fans of what he's been able to do this year in Atlanta. He is such a talented player and someone that if I'm a Hawks fan, I'm beyond excited about. Keegan Murray did an outstanding job staying with him, being attached with him, using his length to contest shots. He wasn't allowing Jalen to get around him. Johnson on the night, I'm not saying this is all Keegan either. The guy had an off night too. Jalen Johnson had 11 points, 4 of 18 shooting, 1 of 7 from 3.
No, that's fair. I probably should have given Keegan a little bit more love on the post game, for that.
Here's
side
the
of
reality.
ball.
Keegan's defense just flies under the radar sometimes.
Sure.
And if you watch him enough, you see what he does out there. He had a tough matchup going up against DeJounte Murray, and that's another thing. Like Mike's asking him to do some different things. I wouldn't ask him to go out there with DeJounte. I'd maybe give it a couple of times, but make sure Fox is on him. That's a Fox matchup in my opinion. Keegan, his defense is legit.
It is. And that it's so sad because it is the thing I mentioned in the post game was I don't know why he was on DeJounte in some of these moments. They should have had De'Aaron on DeJounte Murray, but it's about making sure that you're also, when you do see the flaws, you are seeing the good. And in someone like Jalen Johnson, who absolutely we have talked about in the past of, hey, what to watch against Kings Hawks. And it was Jalen Johnson just crashes the boards. He is a hustler. He is an effort guy.
He'll dunk on your face.
He has a bounce he does. He is that type of young player. So watch out because those can also be huge swing plays. And you're right. Keegan did a good job of being part of that
his team
squad
defense.
That slowed it. Yes.
Making sure to contest at the rim, staying vertical.
Yes.
Keegan's a stud. That was just a great I just thought that response and that it's kind of pivotal moment too, because I think Johnson hit a 3 and also had that dunk. So Love seeing that from Keegan Murray. Kings bench tonight. How about the bench? We talk about it. Okay, guys aren't doing what they normally do, right? We mentioned Fox, Sabonis, and Keegan. Who's going to step up? HB in the starting lineup, 32 points. But then the bench outscored Atlanta's bench big time in this game. You got 13 and 8 from Malik Monk. Davion Mitchell came off the bench. He had 5. You got 10 from Trey Lyles, along with 7 rebounds. JaVale McGee gave you 7 points and 2 loud ones on a nasty dunk. And then Sasha gave you 8 points before leaving the game after tweaking his ankle. What did you like about the bench tonight?
I felt like there wasn't this major drop when they were out. And obviously there wasn't a major drop because your starters were not also not having like this gold star type of game right from the start. So I felt like the bench was giving a different type of energy effort vibe where they were like, okay, if we can't contribute to the level of MVP De'Aaron Fox like scoring, we will do what we can do. And what we can do is make sure that we are making those hustle plays. We are crashing the boards. Trey Lyles, like you mentioned, with those 7 rebounds. Malik Monk is like, okay, I'm going to do what I do best. I'm going to find everybody. I can't score at the rim. If Clint Capella's down here, we have a rim protector, someone just making life a little bit harder. I'm going to find the open man, and that's what he did.
Sasha gave him great energy tonight. The only thing that was irritating is at one point he switched on to DeJounte Murray in the perimeter. He went to close out, fouled him 3 and 1. But then the next play down, what's he do? Quick release corner 3, bang, answers. Yeah. But I also noted at one point he was switched on to Murray in the first half. He stayed with him. He used his length. He used his body without fouling and forced him into a tough look. And I'm like, look, that's compete. And that's the type of defensive effort you're going to need to see from Sacramento. They're not going to be a lockdown defensive team, but you see moments where like, there it is. There's the fight. There's the recovery. There's running guys off the 3-point line. The one thing that I did not like in that fourth quarter, might have been the fourth quarter, late third, Garrison Matthews started getting some wide open looks from 3, and the Hawks were running the same play, a little pick and roll action with Murray and Okongwu, and they would get Okongwu on the short roll, and Okongwu would immediately fire it to the corner for Matthews, and you'd have to recover late. Matthews gets an open look. I'm like, I've seen that happen too many times. We saw that in the Suns game, right? We've seen it multiple times against the Kings now where their pick and roll coverage is a little weird and they find a guy in the short roll and then boom, it's a corner 3. Very
strange, but I might be adding Garrison Matthews to my all-time annoying player list.
Dude, last year with the Rockets, he got into it with Monk. This year, why? You didn't he got technical tonight.
You know, I don't know what it is. There's something that just gives me the ick about him, and like I'm putting him on my list with Mario Chalmers. He's making my list.
Who else is on your list?
Only those 2.
Who's on your ick list all time?
I would really, here's the thing. There's not.
What is it about him though?
It's just, I mean, his aura. I'm such a dick. Like, I don't know what it is. There's just something about him that just makes me angry. I'm like, ew, you just give me the ick. It's so weird. You guys, it's a weird thing. Him and Mario Chalmers.
What is it about Mario Chalmers?
Oh, God. Don't get me started on Mario Chalmers. That was more of a back in what year would that have been with the Heat?
2011?
Yes. So around that time that I love LeBron so much. So I couldn't stand when Mario Chalmers would make some just big mistake when you have these star players you are surrounded with. And I would get so frustrated, almost to the point, do you guys know, like when a loud noise happens and you get physically uncomfortable and annoyed? That is the type of feeling I would get with Mario Chalmers. That's what I get with Garrison Matthews. I don't know what it is. Sometimes you just got to trust your instinct. Those 2 on my ick list.
Oh, he had 9 points. And I'm like, God, you're just hitting threes that are annoying. You get wide open looks.
Annoying.
Hector, I'm not reading that. Garrison Matthews is evil Deuce. Dude, now I gotta look at him for real to see.
No, he's just a white basketball player that he's saying that
you
looks
cannot
like you.
just compare me to every. Oh my God,
dude! Deuce gets compared to so many different white professional athletes, and I love it.
I'm sorry, I have to draw a line here. That does not look like me. That does not look like me.
Yeah, it does.
You're
I'm
being
kidding.
serious.
Well, who's the baseball player that looks like you? Do that one. That one looks like. This is the one comparison that I'm like, yes.
My guy Murph Dog used to say all the time, I believe it was him.
Yes.
That I kind of look like a former pitcher of the Reds, Homer Bailey.
There's stuff within your facial structure with your
again,
jowls and your nose and your small lips. Yeah.
I'm going to be honest, way better looking than any of these comps.
I mean,
it's not even close.
You'd hope you feel that way about yourself. Yeah, that's how you're supposed.
Start banning people from the chat.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, so the Kings bench totals tonight, 43 points to the Hawks 19. So that was a good thing for Sacramento. And I thought the Kings looked so much better when Malik was out there. Malik, by the way, went to the free throw line tonight, 5 of 5 at the free throw line. Can we take a second tonight and acknowledge that the Sacramento Kings, 24 of 27 at the line. Hold on, let me do the math. That's 88.9%. We round up 89% for the Sacramento Kings.
Dude.
Are you?
I'll take it.
What a moment. And
oh,
Mike Brown won a challenge. He has won 5 of his last 6 challenges.
Yes.
It's turning around, Sacramento. We're hitting free throws. We're winning challenges. Can you believe it?
Not me. I can, actually.
Wow.
I can. Wow. What an exciting time.
Oh, let's see. What else do we need to talk about from this game? Yeah, I like the fact that the bench stepped up. I thought Davion came in, his defense great tonight. I thought he came in and just busted his ass. Stay ready, Davion.
He stays ready. And Chelsea Gray and I got to talk to him after the game. And I'm just like, you are such a pro. You're not seeing the floor at times. You are seeing the floor. And then you're just, mentality stays the same. I'm like, what is it? And he's just like, Mike Brown just says, use the superpowers that you have. And I'm just like, oh my God, my heart. Like, this is a coach that is deciding whether or not you are playing or not. And you still have this connection, this relationship, and this respect when he is telling you you have a certain superpower, use it.